In 2013, a man named Edward Snowden changed the world. He wasn't a politician, a celebrity, or a tech mogul. He was just an ordinary guy working as a contractor for the NSA, America's national security agency. But what he saw during his time there was far from ordinary. It was terrifying. Snowden discovered that the US government was watching everyone, not just suspected criminals or foreign threats, but ordinary citizens going about their daily lives, phone calls, emails, Google searches. Nothing was off limits. The scale of this surveillance was unprecedented and deeply disturbing. The government claimed it was all in the name of fighting terrorism. They said it was necessary to keep Americans safe in a post-9/11 world. But Snowden saw through this facade. He realized that it wasn't just about security, it was about control. The power to monitor every aspect of people's lives gave the government an unprecedented level of influence over its citizens. Faced with this shocking reality, Snowden made a decision that would change his life forever. He leaked thousands of classified documents to journalists, exposing secret programs with ominous code names like PRISM and X-Keyscore. These programs allowed the NSA to collect vast amounts of data from tech giants like Google, Facebook, and Apple, often without the company's knowledge or consent. When the story broke, the government's initial response was denial. They claimed Snowden was exaggerating, that he didn't have access to the information he claimed to have. But as more documents came to light, their story began to crumble. Slowly but surely, they were forced to admit the truth. Mass surveillance of American citizens was real, and it had been going on for years. The revelation sent shockwaves around the world. Suddenly, what many had dismissed as paranoid conspiracy theories turned out to be cold, hard fact. The government had been spying on its own citizens on a scale that was hard to comprehend, and they'd been doing it in secret, without public knowledge or consent. As the full extent of the surveillance program became clear, Snowden knew he couldn't stay in the US. He fled the country, eventually finding asylum in Russia. To this day, he remains in exile, unable to return to his homeland without facing severe legal consequences, all because he dared to tell the public what they were never meant to know. Years passed, and the debate over mass surveillance continued. Privacy advocates argued that the programs were unconstitutional, while government officials insisted they were necessary for national security. It wasn't until 2020 that a US court finally ruled that the surveillance program was illegal, but by then it was too late. The damage was already done. The court's ruling should have been a victory for privacy rights. But the scary part? Even after being declared illegal, these surveillance practices didn't just disappear. They evolved, operating under different names and with slightly altered methods. The core issue remained: the government's insatiable appetite for data and its willingness to push legal and ethical boundaries to get it. This is perhaps the most chilling aspect of Snowden's revelations. They showed us not just what had happened, but what was still happening and what could happen in the future. The technology for mass surveillance exists, and once it's created, it's incredibly difficult to put that genie back in the bottle. Snowden's actions sparked a global conversation about privacy in the digital age. It forced people to confront uncomfortable questions. How much of our personal information are we willing to give up in the name of security? Who watches the watchers? And in a world where our lives are increasingly lived online, is true privacy even possible anymore? These questions are more relevant now than ever before. As we willingly share more of our lives on social media, as smart devices listen to our conversations, and as our online activities are tracked and analyzed, the line between convenience and surveillance becomes increasingly blurred. Some argue that if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear from surveillance. But this misses the point entirely. Privacy isn't about hiding wrongdoing, it's about personal autonomy, freedom of thought, and the ability to live without constant scrutiny. When we know we're being watched, we change our behavior. We self-censor, we conform, and bit by bit we lose the very freedoms that make our society worth protecting. Moreover, the existence of these surveillance capabilities creates a dangerous temptation for abuse. History has shown time and time again that power, left unchecked, tends to corrupt. The ability to spy on anyone at any time is an enormous power, one that's ripe for misuse. This is why Snowden's actions were so important. He didn't just reveal specific programs or abuses, he pulled back the curtain on an entire system of secret surveillance that had grown far beyond its original purpose. He showed us how much privacy we've already lost and how much more we stand to lose if we don't take action. In the years since Snowden's revelations, there have been some positive changes. Tech companies have become more transparent about government data requests, encryption has become more widespread and robust, and there's a greater public awareness of digital privacy issues. But these are small victories in a much larger battle. The fundamental tension between privacy and security remains unresolved, and as technology continues to advance at a breakneck pace, new challenges emerge. Facial recognition, artificial intelligence, and big data analytics all offer powerful new tools for surveillance, tools that could make the programs Snowden exposed look quaint by comparison. So where do we go from here? How do we balance the legitimate need for security with the fundamental right to privacy? There are no easy answers, but one thing is clear. We can't afford to be complacent. We must remain vigilant, questioning, and engaged in the ongoing debate about the role of surveillance in our society. Edward Snowden took an enormous risk to bring this issue to light. He sacrificed his career, his home, and his freedom to inform the public about what was being done in their name. Whether you view him as a hero or a traitor, there's no denying the impact of his actions. As we move forward into an increasingly digital future, we would do well to remember the lessons of Snowden's revelations. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance, and in the age of mass surveillance, that vigilance is more important than ever. The NSA and other agencies like it around the world may still be watching. But thanks to Snowden, we're watching them right back.